Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Halloween Podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez. Since 2017, I've recorded about 150 episodes, give or take, of the Halloween Podcast, and I've started most of them by saying, hello and welcome to another episode of the Halloween Podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez, and then we go into the topic, and the show's off. I don't know why, but I was thinking about how I opened the show, and that got me thinking about hosts in general. Why do we have hosts? I guess in most shows, there's always that leading presence, that storyteller, that person who's the star of the show. Not that I'm a star or anything, I'm just a random dude who sits in front of a microphone, talks about Halloween topics. Luckily, I have listeners and I'm not just sitting here talking to myself, but I continue moving forward because of all of you. But yeah, that got me thinking about horror hosts. So in today's episode, we will be exploring the top 5 TV horror hosts. Well, my top 5. I'll talk about their history, the shows, the actors, and so much more. So grab your pumpkin spice coffee. I know it's out there because I saw it at Walmart the other day. And let's get into the spooky world of TV horror hosts. Before we get into the top 5 list, let's talk about TV hosts in general. The concept of television hosts has a rich history, and that dates back to the early days of broadcasting. Hosts have played a pivotal role in shaping the viewing experience, providing context, commentary, and a touch of personality to the films and shows they present. Let's take a quick journey through the history of using hosts on television programs. Television hosts began in the 1950s, a time when TV was becoming a household staple. Early television hosts were primarily announcers or personalities who introduced shows and kept the audience engaged during commercial breaks. These hosts were often seen on variety shows, game shows, and talk shows, where they provide a friendly and familiar presence that connects the audience to the programming. Variety shows were among the first television programs to prominently feature hosts. These shows include a mix of music, comedy, and sketches, with the host acting as the master of ceremonies. Icons like Ed Sullivan on The Ed Sullivan Show and Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show became household names, setting the standard for television hosting with their charm and ability to engage both with live audiences and viewers at home. Game shows have long relied on charismatic hosts to guide the show and keep contestants and viewers entertained. Hosts like Bob Barker on The Price is Right, Alex Trebek on Jeopardy, and Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune became the face of the shows. Sadly, we know Bob Barker passed away, Alex Trebek passed away, and Pat Sajak recently got off Wheel of Fortune, so those 3 references are out of date now, I guess. But they will live on in TV history for who knows how long. Their roles extended beyond just asking questions and presenting prizes. They brought personality, wit, and a sense of community that kept audiences tuning in. Talk shows have also been a staple of television programming, with hosts playing a crucial role in their success. Hosts like Oprah Winfrey, David Letterman, Ellen DeGeneres have become influential figures, using their platforms to interview celebrities, discuss current events, and entertain viewers. Again, all 3 of them, I believe, are no longer doing talk shows. The ability of these hosts to connect with their guests and audience has been key to their enduring popularity. TV hosts have also been significant in children's programming. Shows like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, hosted by Fred Rogers, and Sesame Street, hosted by Kermit the Frog, have used hosts to educate and entertain young audiences. These hosts have a unique ability to engage with children and making learning fun. As television evolved, so did the role of hosts. Cable television brought new opportunities for hosts to reach a niche audience. Channels like MTV introduced VJs, which stands for video jockeys. They hosted music video segments, while networks like Food Network and HGTV featured hosts who specialize in cooking and home improvement. You could also make the argument that Tim Taylor from Home Improvement is a host, because technically he did host Tool Time, and also Beavis and Butthead could be considered hosts because they hosted some music videos in their show. In the streaming area that we're all in right now, the role of television hosts have continued to adapt. Platforms like YouTube and Netflix have introduced a new generation of hosts who connect with the audiences through a wide range of content, from cooking shows to travel documentaries to even Halloween podcasts. These hosts, like yours truly, have a more personal and informal style, reflecting the changed nature of media consumption. From the early days of variety shows and game shows to the modern era of streaming and digital content, television hosts have been a consistent presence, guiding viewers through their viewing experience. Their ability to engage, entertain, and connect with audiences have made them an integral part of television programming. This style of hosting extends into a unique niche with horror hosts, who bring a blend of humor, horror, and a personality to the screen. TV horror hosts have created a subculture within television, offering a unique experience for fans of the macabre and the supernatural. Let's explore how these masters of fright have become an enduring part of television history. Coming in at number 5, we have Svengoolie, played by the talented actors Jerry B. Bishop and Rich Koz. In this episode, we're going to focus more on Rich Koz, mostly because he's the one I'm more familiar with. Our story begins on March 12th, 1952, in Chicago, Illinois, where Rich Koz was born. Growing up in the Windy City, Koz developed a love for classic horror and science fiction films. This passion would eventually lead him to create one of the most enduring characters in horror hosting, and that is Svengoolie. Rich Koz's career in broadcasting began in the 1970s, when he was hired as a writer for WFLD-TV in Chicago. It was here that he met Jerry G. Bishop, who was the original Svengoolie. Bishop recognized Koz's talent and passion for horror. He took him under his wing. Koz began contributing material to Bishop's show, and soon his comedic flair and deep knowledge of horror films were evident. In 1979, after Jerry G. Bishop decided to step down from the role of Svengoolie, Rich Koz was chosen to carry on the mantle. He became Son of Svengoolie, which was a title that paid homage to Bishop's creation while allowing Koz to bring his own style to the character. Dressed in a black top hat and tuxedo, with his face painted to look ghoulish, Koz's Svengoolie quickly became a hit. Svengoolie is known for presenting classic horror and science fiction movies, but what truly set him apart are the comedic interludes, the parodies, and musical numbers that Koz brings to the show. The segments often include terrible puns, terrible jokes, and skits that poke fun at the films being shown, all delivered with a charming self-awareness that keeps the audience entertained. One of Svengoolie's most memorable skits is a parody commercial for Vampire carpets. a humorous take on the famous Empire carpet commercials, which I did an episode of amazing advertising for many years ago now. I think it's still out there on Apple Podcasts. If you want to listen to one of my old podcasts, just go to Amazing Advertising, look it up. It was when I did the Empire Carpet Man. Fun show. I really need to bring that one back too. But fans love the playful nod to Chicago's own Empire Carpet Man, complete with a spooky twist. Svengoolie's use of rubber chickens has become one of his signature trademarks. During the show, Kaz often gets pelted with rubber chickens from off-screen, a running gag that fans eagerly anticipate. Another thing that fans eagerly anticipate is his catchphrase, Berwyn, which is a shout-out to a Chicago suburb. But Svengoolie isn't just about laughs. Rich Kaz has a deep appreciation for the films he showcases, often providing fascinating trivia and background information from the movies and their stars. This blend of humor and genuine love for the genre has made him an icon to audiences of all ages. In 2002, Rich Kaz faced a significant health challenge when he suffered a heart attack. This scare could have ended his career, but Kaz's resilience and dedication to his fans saw him through. He made a triumphant return to television, proving that not even a heart attack could keep Svengoolie down. In 2011, Svengoolie expanded his reach when the show began airing nationally on MeTV. This move introduced Svengoolie to a broader audience, solidifying his status as a national treasure. Viewers across the country fell in love with his unique brand of horror hosting, and the show's popularity soared. Rich Kaz's portrayal of Svengoolie has earned him not only just praise, but he also won a local Emmy Award. His dedication to entertaining and educating his audience about classic horror and science fiction films have left a permanent mark on the genre. It's important to recognize the initial role of Jerry G. Bishop in creating Svengoolie. As the original Svengoolie from 1970 to 1973, Bishop established many of the elements that would become hallmarks for the character, such as the humor and the distinctive look. His mentorship of Rich Kaz ensured that the character would continue to thrive and evolve, allowing Kaz to bring his own flair to the role while honoring Bishop's legacy. Svengoolie's influence extends beyond television. He's made appearances at conventions, hosting live events, and even had his likeness featured in comic books. His impact on the horror community is undeniable, inspiring a new generation of hosts to embrace the blend of comedy and horror that he perfected. Svengoolie has also been active in community events, participating in charity work, and using his platform to engage with fans on a personal level. Rich Kaz is also known for his voice work, having lent his voice talent to various commercials and local broadcasts. His distinctive voice and comedic timing have made him a multi-purpose performer, both on and off the screen. Now let's move on to our number 4, Vampira, played by the lovely Mila Nurmi. Her story begins on December 11th, 1922, in Petsamo, Finland. Her family moved to the United States when she was a child, and she grew up in the Midwest. Eventually, Nurmi found her way to Los Angeles, where she would become a significant figure in the world of horror and television. The character of Vampira was born out of a costume contest in 1953. Mila Nurmi attended a masquerade ball dressed as Morticia Addams from Charles Addams' cartoon. Her striking appearance and unique portrayal caught the attention of a television producer, leading to the creation of The Vampira Show. The Vampira Show premiered on KABC TV in Los Angeles on April 30th, 1954. It was the first television program to feature a horror host, setting the standard for the genre. Dressed in a tight black dress, her waist virtually gone, and her hairstyle in a dramatic raven black mane, Vampira introduced low-budget horror films with a mix of dark humor, campy dialogue, and a gothic appeal that captivated audiences. Vampira's on-screen persona was a blend of glamour and ghoulishness. She would slink onto the screen, often accompanied by eerie music and fog, delivering macabre dialogue with a playful twist. Her introductions were filled with puns, double entendres, and sadistic wit, making her an instant hit with the viewers. One of Vampira's most famous catchphrases was, "Screaming relaxes me so." This line perfectly encapsulates her campy yet spooky charm. Vampira's influence extended beyond her TV show. Her iconic look became a staple of Halloween costumes, inspiring countless imitators. The combination of her vampy style and gothic sensibility has made a lasting impact on Halloween fashion and decor. Her legacy can be seen in the enduring popularity of gothic and horror-themed costumes every October. Mila Nurmi was not just a television host, she was a pioneer. Despite the show's success, the Vampira show was short-lived, ending in 1955. Nurmi faced challenges in a male-dominated industry, and her outspoken nature sometimes put her at odds with network executives. However, her creation of Vampira left a lasting legacy. After the Vampira show, Nurmi appeared in Ed Sullivan's cult classic film Plan 9 from Outer Space in 1959. While the show was critically panned, it eventually gained a cult following, further cementing Vampira's place in horror history. Mila Nurmi was friends with James Dean and claimed to have influenced his iconic look. Their friendship added an intriguing layer of her already fascinating life. Mila Nurmi's contribution to television and horror culture is immeasurable. Her creation of Vampira not only introduced a new television format, but also brought a unique blend of gothic allure and campy humor to the screen. Vampira remains an enduring symbol of Halloween, inspiring everything from costumes to television characters. In her later years, Mila Nurmi continued to be a figure of fascination. She made occasional public appearances and was the subject of several documentaries that explored her life and legacy. Despite facing numerous challenges throughout her career, Nurmi remained a beloved figure in the horror community until her passing on January 10th, 2008, at the age of 85. Now let's move on to our number 3, who is the Crypt Keeper. Our journey begins in the late 1980s, when the world of television horror was forever changed by the debut of Tales from the Crypt, based on the EC comic series of the same name from the 1950s. Tales from the Crypt premiered on HBO in 1989. The show was a horror anthology series presenting self-contained stories of terror, suspense, and the supernatural, each introduced by our host, the Crypt Keeper. Tales from the Crypt was an ambitious project from the start, produced by a team of Hollywood heavyweights including Richard Donner, David Giller, Walter Hill, Joel Silver, and Robert Zemeckis. The show ran for 7 seasons, from 1989 to 1996, producing 93 episodes. What set it apart was not only its devotion to the gruesome and the moralistic tone of the original comics, but also its high production values, notable guests, and directors. Episodes featured talents like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Hanks, and Michael J. Fox, both in front and behind the camera. At the heart of Tales from the Crypt was the Crypt Keeper, a wisecracking, pun-loving ghoul who introduced each episode with a blend of macabre humor and chilling delight. The Crypt Keeper became the face of the show, with his distinct voice and cackle, leaving a horror-filmed mark on the viewers. The Crypt Keeper was brought to life through a combination of puppeteering and animatronics. Created by special effects legend Kevin Yeager, the puppet was designed to be both horrifying and charismatic. With decaying skin, wild hair, and expressive eyes, the Crypt Keeper captivated audiences from his gothic crypt. The puppet was operated by a team of puppeteers who synchronized its movements with the voice work of John Kassir. John Kassir was born on October 24th, 1957, in Baltimore, Maryland. He is the talented voice actor behind the Crypt Keeper's iconic voice. Kassir's journey to becoming the Crypt Keeper began with an audition that showcased his remarkable ability to create a chilling yet humorous voice. His manic laugh and unique delivery won him the role, and he quickly became synonymous with the character. John Kassir's performance as the Crypt Keeper was more than just a voice. It was a full-bodied portrayal that infused the character with personality and wit. Kassir's background in stand-up comedy and voice acting allowed him to bring a dynamic range to the Crypt Keeper, making him both terrifying and amusing. John Kassir won the role of the Crypt Keeper by auditioning with a laugh that beat out hundreds of other voice actors. His distinctive laugh has since become one of the most recognizable sounds in horror. The original Crypt Keeper puppet, created by Kevin Yeager, has become a treasured piece of horror history. While it has made various appearances over the years at conventions and special events, the puppet itself is currently housed in a private collection. Fans can occasionally catch glimpses of the Crypt Keeper at horror conventions, where he remains a beloved figure and nostalgic reminder of the show's impact. Tales from the Crypt and the Crypt Keeper have left a lasting legacy in the world of horror. The show's blend of horror, humor, and mortality tales set a standard for anthology series and influenced numerous of other shows and films. The Crypt Keeper, with his puns and cackle, have become an enduring icon of horror, symbolizing the fun and fright of the genre. Beyond Tales from the Crypt, John Kassir has enjoyed a prolific career in voice acting, lending his talents to various animated series, video games, and commercials. His work includes roles in Tiny Toon Adventures, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Adventure Time. This array of shows his versatility and range as a voice actor. Did you know the Crypt Keeper's laugh was so iconic that it was often used in various promotional material and even found its way into some Halloween sound effect collections? We know those very well here at the Halloween Podcast. Despite its original run ending in 1996, Tales from the Crypt has seen several revival attempts. Most notably, in 2016, when M. Night Shyamalan announced plans to reboot the series for TNT. However, due to legal issues and right complications, the project was ultimately shelved. Nonetheless, the enduring popularity of The Crypt Keeper and the original series continues to keep the spirit of Tales from the Crypt alive. It's clear that The Crypt Keeper, brought to life by the talented John Kassir, has become a beloved figure in the world of horror, and it will be for many, many, many more years to come. Now let's move on to our number 2, who I'm very excited about, and that is Mr. Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. Rod Serling was born on December 25th, 1924, in Syracuse, New York. Though he was raised in Binghamton, Serling developed an early interest in storytelling, which would eventually lead him to become one of the most acclaimed writers and producers in television history. The Twilight Zone premiered on October 2nd, 1959, and quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Created by Rod Serling himself, the show was an anthology series that explored the strange, the mysterious, and the often unsettling aspects of human nature. Each episode was a self-contained story, often with a twist ending that left viewers pondering long after the credits rolled. Serling served as both the host and principal writer for The Twilight Zone, contributing 92 of the show's 156 episodes. His distinctive voice and thoughtful introductions set the tone for each episode, inviting viewers to step into a world where the ordinary and the extraordinary collide. The Twilight Zone was one of the first television shows to tackle serious social issues such as racism, wars, and conformity, under the guise of science fiction and fantasy. The Twilight Zone produced numerous iconic episodes that are still celebrated today. Some of the most memorable include Time Enough at Last, a story about a man who loves to read but finds himself alone in a post-apocalyptic world. That is a fantastic one. If you haven't seen it, you have to. Next, we have The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, a chilling tale about paranoia and mob mentality in a small suburban community. And of course, I can't forget to mention Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, featuring a young William Shatner. This episode follows a man who sees a gremlin on the wing of the plane. This episode has been parodied numerous times, most notably on The Simpsons' Treehouse of Horror Part 5, with the story Terror at 5.5 Feet. In that episode, Bart tries to warn his fellow bus passengers about a gremlin on the side of the bus. The Twilight Zone ran for 5 seasons until 1964, leaving a lasting impact on television and pop culture. Its influence can be seen in countless shows and films that followed, and the series has been revived multiple times, including in the 1980s, the 2000s, and recently revived by Jordan Peele. Now let's talk a little bit about his other show, Night Gallery. Following the success of The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling created another anthology series called Night Gallery. Premiering in 1969, Night Gallery focused more on horror and the macabre, with Serling serving as the host who introduced each story from a dark, eerie art gallery. Night Gallery was known for its unsettling and often terrifying tales, each inspired by a painting in the gallery. The show featured contributions from notable directors and writers, including Steven Spielberg and Harlan Ellison. Some of the standout episodes from Night Gallery include The Cemetery, a tale of greed and supernatural revenge involving a wealthy man's haunted painting. Next, we have the episode Eyes, directed by a young Steven Spielberg. This episode stars Joan Crawford as a blind woman who undergoes a risky surgery to gain temporary sight. Then, we have The Doll, a story about a cursed doll that brings terror to a British officer. Rod Serling considered Night Gallery to be a continuation of the storytelling style he perfected in The Twilight Zone, but with a greater emphasis on horror and dark fantasy. Beyond The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery, Rod Serling was a prolific writer and a producer who helped shape the television landscape. He wrote screenplays for films such as Planet of the Apes and Requiem for a Heavyweight, showcasing his flexibility and depth as a writer. Serling's commitment to addressing social issues and pushing the boundaries of television storytelling has inspired countless writers, directors, and creators. Rod Serling's work has earned him numerous accolades, which include multiple Emmy Awards and a Peabody Award. His ability to blend thought-provoking themes with compelling narratives have left an incredible mark on the industry, making him one of the most respected figures in television history. Rod Serling's legacy continues to thrive through the popularity of the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. His influence can be seen in modern anthology series like Black Mirror and American Horror Story. In his later years, Serling continued to work on various projects, including teaching at a local college. Sadly, he passed away on June 28, 1975, at the age of 50, due to complications from heart surgery. Despite his untimely death, Rod Serling's legacy lives on through his timeless work and countless creators he inspired. Serling's introduction, "You are about to enter another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind," remains one of the most iconic opening lines in television history. As we wrap up our segment on Rod Serling, it's clear that his contributions to television and storytelling have left an incredible mark on the industry. His visionary work on the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery continue to inspire and entertain audiences around the world. Now let's move on to our number one most beloved TV horror icon, and that is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, played by the lovely Cassandra Peterson. Cassandra Peterson was born on September 17, 1951, in Manhattan, Kansas. From a young age, Peterson had a fascination with the macabre and a flair for performance. Her journey to becoming Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, is as fascinating as the character itself. Before becoming Elvira, Cassandra Peterson had a diverse career. As a teenager, she worked as a showgirl in Las Vegas, where she met Elvis Presley, who encouraged her to pursue a singing career. Peterson later moved to Italy, where she performed as the lead singer of an Italian rock band. Upon returning to the United States, she joined the comedy troupe The Growlings, where she honed her comedic skills and developed the persona that would become Elvira. The character made her debut on September 26, 1981, with the syndicated television show Elvira's Movie Macabre. The show featured Peterson as Elvira, a gothic, vampy valley girl who introduced and provided commentary on B-grade horror and science fiction films. Dressed in a plugging black dress with a fluffy hairstyle and heavy makeup, Elvira's look was both sexy and spooky, which perfectly complemented her campy and quick-wit humor. Elvira's unique blend of comedy and horror quickly made Elvira's Movie Macabre a hit. The show ran until 1986 and was later revived in 2010, bringing Elvira's sharp-tongued humor and love for the macabre to a new generation of fans. The character of Elvira was originally created as a satire of the gothic horror genre, drawing inspiration from characters like Vampira that we talked about a little bit earlier. However, Peterson's comedic talent and unique persona quickly made Elvira a distinct and beloved character in her own right. Elvira's influence extends far beyond her television show. In 1988, Cassandra Peterson starred in and co-wrote Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. In the film, we follow Elvira as she inherits a creepy old mansion in a small town of Farewell, Massachusetts. Hoping to sell the property and use the money to finance her dream of headlining a show in Las Vegas, Elvira quickly finds herself at odds with the town's conservative residents. As she settles into the mansion, Elvira discovers a family secret involving her long-lost aunt and a magical cookbook that could unleash dark powers. With her trademark wit, charm, and spooky style, Elvira must battle an evil warlock and save the town from a supernatural disaster, all while staying true to herself. It's a fun film that you guys have to check out. Elvira has also appeared in a variety of media, including comic books, video games, and animated series. She has guest starred on numerous television shows and made appearances at conventions and events around the world. Elvira's image has become synonymous with Halloween, and she is often seen as the quintessential Halloween icon. Cassandra Peterson's portrayal of Elvira has earned her numerous awards. She has become a beloved figure in the horror community and a symbol of Halloween fun and festivities. Elvira's blend of horror and humor have paved the way for future generations of horror hosts and comedians. And let's not forget her ability to balance sex appeal with humor. Elvira's popularity has led to a wide range of merchandise, including action figures, costumes, and even a slot machine. Her likeness has become a staple of Halloween decorations, and her image is instantly recognizable to fans around the world. In recent years, Cassandra Peterson has continued to celebrate and promote the Elvira character. She released her autobiography, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark, in 2021, which offered fans an intimate look into her life and career. Peterson remains active in the horror community, making appearances at conventions and participating in various media projects. We can go on and on about Elvira and Cassandra Peterson's mark on Halloween and horror culture. So it's safe to say that she deserves our #1 spot for TV's horror hosts. I want to wrap things up by saying this, guys. It's clear that our top 5, Svengoolie, Vampira, the Crypt Keeper, Rod Serling, and Elvira, have left a unique mark on the Halloween genre. These hosts have not only introduced us to countless hours of chilling tales, classic horror films, and so much more Halloween and horror entertainment. I honestly don't think that this community wouldn't be the same if we didn't have any of these top 5 in them. So let's make sure that we treasure each one of them for their contributions. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Halloween podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed our look at the top 5 TV horror hosts. If you enjoyed this episode of the Halloween podcast, please consider subscribing to wherever you're listening to this podcast. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, comments, or want to suggest anything for a future show, send me an email at thehalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. You could also go to our new website, which is thehalloweenpodcast.com. You can find a lot of Halloween podcast merch there, so please consider buying a sticker, a postcard, a shirt, whatever, and all of those proceeds go to help support the Halloween podcast. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/The Halloween Podcast. I post a lot of content there and also some exclusive podcast stuff. So make sure you like our page and check it out. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Have a good night.